have to love your neighbor as you love yourself. The Palestinians are our neighbor. So it's only plain for me that if I have independence, if I have a state, so also they have to. It's my responsibility, religious responsibility, to take care that they will have also their state.
Of Eretz Shalom. He 35 years he is alone. One man alone talked about peace between the settlers and the Palestinian people, and most of the people that now they hear laughing.
This is the Jewish settlement of Tekoa on the West Bank. We're in a meeting with Rabbi Menachem Froman. The room is filled with young settlers who have come to hear this fragile old man. Froman has devoted himself for years to a remarkable cause, peace between the Palestinians and the Jewish settlers. Now, a small group of second-generation settlers is following his lead. One of them is Nachum Pachenik. It is true, we have conquered this territory. But the Arabs really shouldn't use the word occupation, because it wasn't Israel, but the Arabs who started the war. Israel had to defend itself and then conquered these territories. The tragedy is that the Palestinians also feel attached to this land. The same land where we, the Jewish people, have our roots. That's the problem. This settlement is illegal, even according to Israel. But before we came here, I checked if this was anyone's private property. If someone can prove to me that this land belongs to him, I will pack my things, and I am out of here by tomorrow. Did you ever pick figs here? What do you think of it that each year when summer begins, I have to ask the Palestinian owner whether we are allowed to pick figs? What does he say? He says we are allowed to do it. Right. And what do you think of it, that after that you have to ask me for permission? You are right. We should ask, because we also have orchards. And we wouldn't want others to pick fruit without asking permission. So I won't do that to others. Come on. Nachum used to be an extreme settler, as he says so himself. But when one day his neighbour was murdered, this marked the beginning of a change. 12 years ago, my neighbour was driving to Jerusalem without her husband. 2 Hamas terrorists stopped the car and shot her from close range, in front of her children. Some of the children were injured. One died. Then I started to ask myself all kinds of questions. What are we doing here? I know just a little bit of Arabic, and I hear the imams preach from the mosque, just as the rabbis do, that there is only room here for one people. And I think that's the problem. We need religious leaders who believe there can be peace. Eretz Shalom, Land of Peace, is a new political movement. A movement of settlers of the second generation. Most of us were born here in Judea and Samaria. This is the situation in which we were born. Maybe it is exactly because we were born here because we are not from outside, that we want to stay here, but we want to stay and live in peace. Not only Jews take part in Eretz Shalom, also Palestinians. Since some time now, Ziad Sabatin is working alongside Nachum for the land of peace. When I first saw Nachum, to me, he seemed a settler like all the others. But when I heard him, and after talking to him for hours, I sensed he is a brave person. He chooses the way of peace, even if everybody is against him. He has received death threats several times. They wanted to kick him out of his settlement. I soon realized Ziad is a man of peace. This is not just a matter of words. You can see it in his eyes. It's from the heart. When it comes to making peace, he shows more courage than I do. He invites me to his house, but I can't invite him to mine. Because my neighbours are against it, they are afraid. For the Arabs, the settlements are the core of the problem. But if you live here, and if you see them every day, you have to be in contact with each other. You should not turn your back on them. You have to touch the heart of the problem. Ziad specifically wants to get in touch with settlers, because they are the very enemy with whom peace has to be made. It is better to make peace with my direct neighbours than with the people in Tel Aviv. Better to make peace with the settlements here in our neighbourhood. They are the ones with whom I have to make peace. I live with them and they with me. The political solution that should follow from this approach is a Palestinian state in which the settlers would continue to live as a Jewish minority. Nachum is prepared to live in a Palestinian land. Those who want to stay and agree to live under Palestinian authority, they are welcome, no problem. People say, are you crazy? You want to live in a Palestinian state? They will kill you. But then I say, that's how you think. But what do the Palestinians think? If you talk like that, it says more about how you think. But I know them from up close. If you show respect, you'll be treated with respect. You can make peace with such people, and with people like Ziad. He invites me to his house, doesn't give me a cigarette, but I do get coffee. The next day, Ziad shows us around in his town. It seems as if in Husan, peace between Jews and Palestinians is already a reality. Settlers from the nearby settlement come to Husan, for example, to have their cars fixed.
I brought my car here, and I want to tell you another thing. I have a computer store in Jerusalem, and Bassam, it's the manager of this garage, come to buy inside my store computer. I sell him computer, he fixes my car, we work together.
The town of Husan may be in the Palestinian territories, but it is not administered by the Palestinians. It is the Israeli army that is in charge here.
I think that this situation in Israel called is status quo. It's something in the middle. Israeli army don't get inside, Palestinian don't get inside. It's something in the middle, and because this situation, we can get inside, they can get us. We'll get good relationship.
So you kind of like the status quo?
I like it. I think that they like it too.
But this bird cage on the wall turns out to be a silent protest against the occupation. We are like those birds. We are caged. No one can get in or out because of the roadblocks and the whole situation. Did you hear that? I know Bassam for quite a few years. We belong to the same society in a positive way. It hurts me that I can't visit him in Bethlehem, and he can't come to me in Beit Ha'elit. We both think that's not a good situation. What do you think of what this Jewish man in the garage said about the status quo? I know him from town. He can get in and out of town without any problem. But I can't go to his town, Beit Harelit, when I want to. His life is 1,000 times easier. This is the area of Beit Harelit. There, near that big building, we have a piece of land. We used to have over 5,000 trees there. It was owned by my family. Then soldiers came, the trees were cut, and houses were built on our land. The soldiers beat my mother and broke her hand. My father and brothers were also beaten. After these events, Ziad fully engaged himself in the first Intifada. He is arrested and spends 5 years in an Israeli prison. You went into prison with so much hatred. What has changed? What happened to you? I've come to the conclusion that terror only leads to more terror. Terror does not lead to peace. On the contrary, terror does not lead to anything. So let the violence stop. We have walked that road. Now let's live as good neighbours and work for a better life. Land of Peace organises meetings between the two families, Arab families and Jewish families from the settlements. Then you learn about one another's religion. When you meet each other, you come closer together. If you get to know each other, the fear disappears. That's why we work especially hard on these meetings. We have had meetings also here at this well, with as many as 60 people, from both sides, Israeli and Arab. We talked together. To begin with, most of the Jews were very scared to meet the Arabs. These meetings are not public, and we didn't want any media attention for them, because you have to build up trust. We're heading to the Palestinian town of Beit Umar. Unlike Ziad's town, Beit Umar is administered by the Palestinian Authority. Jewish settlers are not popular around here. For safety reasons, Nachum changed his Jewish keppel for a Palestinian head covering. In Beit Umar, we want to talk to some other participants in the confidential meetings.
Okay, this is Beit Umar. You see, this is the first houses of Beit Umar. Ahlan wa sahlan. From now, I'm a Muslim people. You give me hope, really. You believe me?
Yes.
What I say now? You give me hope.
There is always hope.
This man give me hope. Believe me, he give hope
You're
to my
welcome.
life. He's a very hero man. How are you?
Very well.
You remember me?
Abuayash keeps on laughing at me. He says I look like a Hamas fighter. Just say you're with the Islamic Jihad. We're in the house of Mohamed Abuayash, just like Ziad, a Palestinian who is involved in Land of Peace. And besides Nachum, another Jewish settler has come.
I can tell you that the first time I came to Beit Umar, I was scared. I was very, very scared. I saw the big sign, do not enter. This is a violation of Israeli law. You might be arrested. And you start thinking, am I betraying my own nation? What would my parents say? What happened if I get kidnapped?
The father of Mohamed Abuayash was 6 months old when his father was shot and killed by the Israelis at the time the State of Israel was established.
We lost the land and people that day. It was a big tragedy.
Yet now, Mohamed is striving for settlers and Palestinians to engage in a dialogue.
I was more interested to talk to settlers because they are the core of the conflict, not just Israeli who is behind the wall.
As he describes you as a settler being the core of the problem.
I accept it. We live here. We live in the midst of the lands that they used to live in, they used to work in. There is no denying that. And the question is, what do we do about that?
So many people could simply say, well, Assaf, you don't belong here. Go to the other side of the green line.
I understand that. I'm completely aware of the international discourse regarding the situation. But I think that if you really want to solve the problem, you need to truly understand the insider point of view.
So what is that inside point of view?
The inside point of view is that when the rest of the world says you don't belong here, it plays upon certain Jewish notion.
You think you do belong here?
This is not even a question. This is not even a question. The question is, first of all, the difference between belonging and owning, right? This is one switch that we have to make. I don't own this place. I belong to this place.
He says, we belong here. Do you feel the Jews belong to this land?
I have not much difference with what Assaf says. I almost complete with he says. But the difference, we all belong to the earth, and earth belong to the God. This is the main thing. The second part, okay, you have right to be here because this is the Holy Land. This is international Holy Land, not just for Jews, for Muslims, for Christians. And to be here, we need to respect the land, not to divide it, not to control it or to own it.
Nachum, Mohamed and Assaf more or less agree with each other, but certainly not all the people they bring together do.
Well, not all the people who come to the group share the same visions. In fact, I know that both on the Palestinian group there are people who have very different visions about the future and their relationship to settlers, the same among the settler group. However, there is a basic human need for recognition from the other and for the self.
Of course, we have many difficulties to bring people from Palestinian side to meet with settlers. Not because they don't want to make peace, but because they afraid. If we come to meet with settlers, we said to recognize them on the land, or to give them more rights, or to stay on the land.
You have people who are completely against a Palestinian state. Nonetheless, it's very important for them to get to know the Palestinians and to have the Palestinians knowing them.
What we're doing is very important. It looks like now it's too small. It's not much effective. But I am sure everyone who come to this meeting, he back home with hope.
That evening, we once again go to Tekoa. This is where the spiritual father of the Land of Peace movement lives. He is seriously ill, but agrees to speak to us anyway. Froman believes that just like there is a Palestinian minority living in Israel, so there will be a Jewish minority living in a Palestinian state.
The way that I see it, that if it will be obvious to the Palestinians that their state will be as a parallel to the state of Israel, not a Judenrein state, but a state, a democratic state that will enjoy the benefits of an Israeli minority. The more they understand it, we are closer to peace.
According to Nachum, there won't even be true peace if Jews will not continue to live in a Palestinian state. For me, it's not about keeping the land, it's about achieving real peace. If I knew we'd achieve peace by leaving, I would already have left. But I know separation will not lead to peace.